As dietitian moms, our primary focus when feeding our kids when they were infants and toddlers was exposing them to a wide variety of foods in hopes of building healthy, lifelong dietary habits. But we've since learned that we may have inadvertently neglected providing adequate amounts of some important nutrients that babies and toddlers often fall short on.
In today's episode, we'll highlight 3 key nutrients needed during these stages and discuss the critical roles that those nutrients play in growth and development. We'll share foods that help maximize those nutrients, as well as what we would have done differently. Let's dive in. This episode was developed in partnership with the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, a contractor to the Beef Checkoff. If dietitians are listening, they can go to beefnutritioneducation.org to receive their continuing education certificate for listening. This episode has been submitted to CDR for approval of 1.0 CPEU.
We're covering an age group that we have not really covered before. In today's episode, we're covering an age group we've not really covered before. We are talking about infants and kids. Mm-hmm. And what I think is interesting is the concept of this podcast was born from a hey, there are some things about little kid nutrition that we wish that we actually knew or
had known.
Yes. And
when we had little kids?
Yes. And had paid more attention. It was one of those where we were looking back and we were like, oh man, we really did that one wrong.
Yeah. But it was why wasn't this emphasized more?
Yes.
We're dietitians.
Yes.
And mom.
Yes.
Mom dietitians. And we didn't really know this or think about it or thankfully they all seem to have turned out okay.
Thus far.
But it just kind of blew me away, the lack of knowledge that I had when I was a young mom.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because it really affects them developmentally long term. Some key nutrients that can be lacking.
Yeah.
Or often lacking in the diet.
And, so I don't want listeners, take this with a grain of salt. It feels like there has been a lot of evolution of child nutrition since you and I graduated from college.
Yes, I feel like also there has been a lot of evolution with pregnancy nutrition since I had my first child.
Agreed.
I remember, so my kids are 3 years apart. I had Madeline in 2010. I don't think my OBGYN mentioned anything about omega-3s like DHA and EPA. When I was pregnant with Griffin 3 years later in 2013, she was like, oh, you need to take this supplement of DHA and EPA. It may have had some choline in it too. And I was like, well, gosh, I wish I'd known this 3 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I feel like even that has evolved. But particularly, I don't know if this has just kind of been an overlooked group for a while, or we just assumed, oh, breast milk and formula, they're fine.
Right.
It may be that.
True.
But there's some key nutrients that often they may not be getting enough of, particularly after 6 months of age, that you really need to focus on. And they're really tied into some key development. So, yeah, if you know a young mother or you have someone who in your life who's about to have a child or have a family member, this is going to be key.
Yeah. This is a great episode to share with someone that if this does not apply to you directly. But the nutrients that we're going to talk about are still very important for all of us. Mm-hmm. But like you said, they play a really key role in growth, physical growth, and especially brain development.
Yeah. And this includes 2 nutrients in particular that we have not talked about. And they are 2 nutrients that you really need your whole life.
Yes.
So just to tease it just a little.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about another thing that I had never heard of until about 2 years ago. And I asked you if you had, and you said you really hadn't, but it's this term that is used very commonly now in a lot of research, and it's called the first 1,000 days.
Mm-hmm. And of course, my brain then I was like, I got to do some math on this.
Yeah, but let me simplify it for you. It is the time period from conception, so when that baby is conceived, through to the second birthday.
Yep. That's a long time period.
That is a long time period, but it's so interesting to me. I mean, it makes sense, I guess, but to group that time period because babies are really still developing during those first 2 years, like not quite as fast as they were in the womb, but there's some critical needs that need to be met. But this term, I ran into it. I was working on a nutrition textbook, and I was like, what is this term, and why haven't I seen this? Like, well, Carolyn, you did go to college 25 years ago, but so I had to read up on it, and I was like, this is fascinating. This is just now a very accepted term, and it's referred to that way in research, studies and things. But it's that time period from conception to age 2, and it's really critical for the baby's growth and development. And even more critical is that the infant, the fetus, then the infant, toddler gets some key nutrients during, like in that 1,000 days. There are some really critical nutrients that they have to have for the brain, for the body, for the immune system.
Yeah. So the longer list, and then we'll get into the short list of what we're going to focus on during this episode. But we're talking about iron, zinc, the vitamins B6 and B12, choline, protein, and especially trying to make it high quality protein is very important. Iodine, vitamins A and D, and then as you were talking about those, this word is so sciencey, but the long chain polyunsaturated fatty acids, which are predominantly those omega-3s, those EPA and DHA.
Yeah, that are predominantly found in fish.
Yes. And so those are the nutrients that are very important in these first 1,000 days. Yeah. Very important.
And we're going to focus specifically on iron, choline, and then a form of vitamin A.
Yep.
Or some compounds that are in vitamin A sources that come from plants, called carotenoids.
Yes.
So we're going to focus on those because those in particular can be lacking, and we're going to talk about ways to get those.
So the thing is with all of these nutrients is that they're obviously important during pregnancy, right? Because that is part of the first 1,000 days. So that is where, as a parent, as a pregnant woman, you have a fair amount of control over what you can put into your body. That said, if you're anything like me, I just lived off of white bagels and strawberries for the first 6 months because I was so sick. So then, you might want to talk. That's where like your prenatal supplement comes in. That's where additional supplements like EPA and DHA can come in. But basically, if you're doing the best that you can do as the mother, you're going to build up your stores. Your baby is going to obviously reap the benefits from that. And then if you happened to breastfeed, then your baby is going to get those nutrients through breast milk, which is going to cover you for, let's say, 6-ish months, if that's what you aim for, right? Now, even if you supplement or even if you use formula, it's going to be fortified with a lot of this stuff. So really, we're going to talk about why those 3 nutrients are important, but then we're going to focus in on, like, once you hit that 6-month mark, what you're doing from 6 months to 2 years. Yeah. And then we're going to end with what you and I did, like what we focused on and what we wish we had done differently.
Yeah. So we're going to talk some about, around 4 to 6 months age is when you start adding complementary foods or individual foods to the baby's diet. So we're going to talk about how you can get food sources with some of these key nutrients in as complementary nutrients to complement the breast milk or the formula, starting around 4 to 6 months of age.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Let's jump on into iron. We've talked about iron for adults. We really haven't done anything related to kids or infants.
Yeah, not littles. No, not littles. So iron is also very important during pregnancy. Yes. They check your iron levels. Sometimes they want you to take an iron supplement.
And good gosh, your iron needs go they are so high. They are 27 milligrams a day. When you're pregnant, that is so. Women who have a menstrual cycle, it's 18 milligrams a day. Men, it's 8 milligrams, and like 18 is hard to get to begin with.
Yes,
very hard to get.
Yes.
So when it goes up to 27, that's really hard.
It is. And the problem too, when you're relying on an iron supplement, is then one of the side effects is constipation. So an iron supplement is very important.
Supplements are no fun.
I did have to take them, but you're like, it's just one of those where you're like, oh man, you're like, I'm just going to exacerbate a problem that I already have because I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
But it's really, really important for the fetal growth and development.
So iron is really key during pregnancy. I believe, if I'm getting the stat right, like your blood volume doubles during pregnancy to accommodate the placenta and the womb and your growing, expanding uterus and fetus. So your blood volume doubles. So you need more iron for hemoglobin and to carry oxygen. But also, fetal growth and development, particularly the brain, is a very active metabolic state. So the development of that brain is consuming a lot more oxygen. As I say, the fetal developmental brain is consuming about 60% of total oxygen, whereas compared, the adult brain consumes about 20%. And so you've got to have that iron to be in those red blood cells with the hemoglobin, because that's what enables the red blood cells to carry on oxygen to the body. And there's research that has shown that if you're deficient when you're pregnant, a lot of times that means you will not have adequate stores once you have the baby. Mm-hmm. And the baby really relies, if you're breastfeeding, the baby relies, on essentially the mother's stores.
Yes, exactly.
So that could affect. And so also, iron plays a key role in neurodevelopment once the baby is born. It really, the brain finishes developing. It plays a role in the development of synapses in the brain, which is how it sends messages. In the organization of neurotransmitter systems. I don't even want to get into that, but I know neurotransmitters are important, and I want my kids' system set up right.
That's right. That's so true.
It's involved in myelination of like the neurons, and it's involved in visual, auditory systems, the hippocampus. So it's involved in a lot of key things for the baby. And so it's a lack of it. Well, it says iron may have an influence, or appears to have an influence on that infant's cognitive ability and behavior, which could be lingering down the road.
Yeah, exactly. It has a long-term effect for sure.
Yeah. And actually, I saw some research, and it said women who meet iron requirements during pregnancy may provide an advantageous impact on the cognitive development of their kids.
I love that.
I know.
But it is hard, and there's plenty of research that says that many pregnant women fall a little short.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, 27 milligrams, I don't know if people realize, that is a crazy high amount. Mm-hmm. It is hard to find some really good foods, unless you are really focusing on some high-quality proteins.
Exactly.
To get, and getting those high-quality proteins frequently through the week, it's really hard to get enough.
Well, and also remember, too, your appetite is usually different.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're usually, like, sometimes you have totally different cravings. Like, I was not craving a hamburger, let me tell you that much.
I wasn't either at first, or the first half, but then I did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Towards the end, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I only wanted like carbs, dry carbs.
Same carbs and strawberries. I had a lot of strawberries.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
And I remember thinking, I feel like my diet is like so bad.
Yes. Same.
just hoping that prenatal vitamin was doing the job.
Doing the job. Yeah.
Yeah.
So kids, fortunately, I mean, they're smaller. They're not growing a human. So the amount that they need is a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
But the RDA for infants from 7 to 12 months, because that's really, again, going back to like, if you're exclusively breastfeeding or exclusively formula feeding for the first 6 months, or even the first 4 months, and then it's really just complementary what you're giving them from 4 to 6.
But they really rely on that the complementary foods, getting iron from those complementary foods starting at 6-7 months.
Exactly.
Of age.
Yeah. So the target at that age is 11 milligrams a day.
That's higher than what I expected.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
I mean, could you think about adult men? It's 8 milligrams.
Yeah. But when you look at the research, most kids that age are getting that, the research says that children from age 6 to 11.9 months, the mean intake was 13 milligrams.
Good.
So that is good. I don't know how much of that is supplemented. Like, I know I did supplement with my kids.
Well, and if you're doing formula, that is typically almost always supplemented with iron. So, but that's a source.
Yeah.
But I think it's particularly with breastfed infants.
Yeah.
That's where it's critical.
Yeah.
To make sure you are introducing some iron-rich complementary foods.
Yes, because
to get that iron.
Yeah, because most exclusively breastfed infants, the research says that most exclusively breastfed infants don't get enough iron from 6 to 12 months of age.
Yeah.
So that formula is carrying a lot of weight, and then those complementary iron-rich foods are really important.
Yeah. I believe the stat I saw was that it was exclusively about 74% of exclusively breastfed infants do not get enough iron during that 6 to 12 month.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I can see that. It makes sense when you think about how little they really consume of let's call it like food, you know what I mean, versus breast milk or formula.
You're just trying to introduce them to new things. Watch for any kind of reaction. You see which ones they really like and don't like. And it's so obvious, a lot of times. So, a lot of times I think, and we've talked about this, my focus was really more on introducing a variety of foods and not necessarily so focused on nutrients.
Same. It was variety of foods. It was variety of textures.
Yeah.
And it was not...
It was more about exposing them.
Yes.
Rather than a nutrient focus, which I look back and I didn't even really think about nutrients.
Nope. Same. And that, I feel like that was one of the things that really brought this episode to light for us, because we were like, wait a minute, we were doing here, let's introduce you to these spices and this texture of food and this color and variety, so you like all the things, and we're like, I missed the mark when it came to choline, for example, and
we're dietitians.
I know. Yeah.
So
okay, so as the kids get older, the amount of iron actually goes down, which is nice. So 1 to 3 years, they only need about 7 milligrams a day. And then from 4 to 8 years, they need about 10 milligrams a day. And when you look at the stats, the percentage of kids who are deficient in iron is actually pretty low. We're less than 10% in both of those age groups. So when you look at what the key food sources of iron are, it makes more sense.
Yes. And also, I think we've talked about this on our other iron episode. It was related to adults, but it takes a while before iron deficiency. It's hard to assess an iron deficiency until it's bad.
It's a very good point. Yes.
There's not great markers for, or signals that, oh, yes, an iron deficiency is starting. We have a mild deficiency. No. It's usually on down the road once it has progressed.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So you mentioned some key food sources. Let's go over them again. The animal proteins are really rich in iron. So
and they're going to be absorbed the best.
Exactly.
The heme form of iron, which is absorbed so much better at a much higher rate than
any
non-heme, which generally comes from plant sources.
Exactly.
Yeah. So your meat, your lean beef, your poultry, your seafood, fish,
Exactly.
that kind of thing is going to be really your best sources and your most absorbable.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the other problem is iron isn't absorbed really well by the body.
Correct.
Absorption does increase when your body really needs it, when you're going through growth. But yeah, I think even heme, don't quote me exactly on this, but the absorption is around 23%. And then non-heme is closer to like 10%, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's non-heme is very, very low.
Yeah. So, but your non-heme sources are going to be like fortified, like rice cereal.
Yep. Even just general, like your boxed cereal too is going to be fortified with it.
True. Some of your dark green vegetables like spinach.
Yep.
And then of course as they get older, like nuts and seeds and that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But again, those are not absorbed very well. So your best focus when it comes to food is going to be that like fish, meat, poultry, seafood.
Yeah. Well, and we did mention earlier that protein is really key during
Yes.
this age because there's so much growth and development going on. And so those are really, your heme sources are also your high quality protein sources.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah. And we're going to talk a little bit more once we get through the other two nutrients about how to work, particularly like some of these proteins in.
Mm-hmm.
Like we say lean beef, and people are probably like, what? You're going to give your 7-month-old a steak? No, that's not what we're saying.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about some ways to incorporate these foods.
Yes.
So, okay.
Let's talk about choline.
Yeah.
So choline was not one of those nutrients that was really even a chapter in nutrition for us in college. It has really come onto the forefront in the last few years. I mean, even when I was pregnant with my kids, it wasn't that big of a deal. So
it's kind of been like this mystery compound, and it's a vitamin-like compound.
yes.
But, it's got to be important. I was just mentioning this to you. The DRIs, like the RDAs.
Yeah.
They only include vitamins for the most part and like minerals when you're talking about your micronutrients.
Yep.
Except the one compound that's included with the vitamins and minerals in the DRIs is choline.
Yeah. Now, what I also find interesting too is that a lot of the research and a lot of the conversation around choline is specific to pregnant women, and like the information might exist, but you and I are not encountering stuff that's like, hey, in perimenopause, you really want to pay attention to choline because of X, Y, and Z. The target market for talking about choline really has been pregnancy.
Yeah. But, choline is directly involved in memory and learning.
Yeah.
So it's probably one we should do a whole episode on.
Yes, I would agree.
But it is involved in the brain, particularly with memory and learning. And so it appears to be pretty critical to cognitive development in the fetus, but also the newborn and infant as they grow. In fact, there was a stat in a study and kind of a summary of nutrients within the first 1,000 days, and said pregnant mothers with adequate choline status, because the mother's stores similar to iron are going to kind of fuel the baby for the first 6 months, at least. So pregnant mothers with adequate choline status or intakes for choline are shown to give birth to infants who have a significantly reduced risk of behavioral problems at 12 months and a higher cognitive development score at 18 months.
It's awesome. That is so awesome.
Yeah. Once again, I wish we'd known more when I was pregnant.
Right? Exactly. Although I will say one of the main sources for choline is an egg yolk, and that was a regular protein in my rotation. So,
well, see, we had a food allergy, and so when we had a food, it wasn't to eggs, but they were like, be very careful with the other potential food allergens like eggs.
Interesting.
So I really had to, in hindsight, I wouldn't have done that now. There's
Yeah.
there's newer thinking about food allergies in infants.
Yes. That's another part about,
Yeah.
infant and young children nutrition that has changed
Yeah.
big time.
But in the first months of life, in that first 1,000 days, even after the baby is born, choline is really critical to nervous system development and brain development.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, statistically speaking, a severe choline deficiency is fairly rare, but they say the majority, 95% of all pregnant women don't actually meet the recommended 450 milligrams a day for choline.
Yeah. We don't have an RDA for choline. We have an AI. And for pregnant women, that's 450 milligrams. And so let's just say most all pregnant women do not meet that AI. And we really need around the AI. And AI stands for adequate intake.
Right.
So
I was gonna say,
AI
you've gotta
isn't even
remind
like the
listeners what that
RDA.
is.
Like AI is like, we don't know quite enough about this nutrient or this compound to set an RDA. And the RDA is kind of like what will keep most people healthy. So an AI is like saying, okay, we don't have enough information to set an RDA, but based on the information we do have, this appears to be adequate.
Yeah.
This amount appears to be adequate. So it's not an optimal amount. It's not it's just the adequate amount.
Yeah.
And
I think of it, this is a little like harsh, but I think of it as this is what they said is the bare minimum.
Yeah. Kind of.
That they know at this time without more research.
We can't say that consuming more will help you any kind of like that, but
but you should at least
this
be
is
getting
adequate
to
avoid like disease or deficiency.
Exactly.
Yeah. So again, like iron, the choline stores, the baby relies on the mother's choline stores, and gets it through breast milk for those first 6 months for the most part if the infant is breastfed. I believe most formulas today are also fortified with some choline. But this goes back to you really need adequate choline during your pregnancy to build those stores.
Yep.
Who knew? But then around 6-7 months of age, the infant actually has an AI, which is around 150 milligrams.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some, so you're really relying on complementary foods.
Correct.
To provide that choline, just like you are with the iron, particularly if the infant is breastfed. And there was some NHANES data. That's a national, for people who aren't nutrition nerds like us, that's a national nutrition survey. And it was from, it was probably about 10 years old. But it analyzed male and female infants within that 6 to 12 month stage, and it indicated that about 60% of male infants met the AI, 40% of females infants met the AI.
And the way that research is conducted, we can't say why there was that discrepancy, but boy, am I curious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very curious.
And so then the AI goes up to 200 milligrams for 1 to 3 years, and then 250 for 4 to 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And again, never a nutrient I really thought about.
Yeah, no. Now, when you look at the research on, this is actually also from NHANES, that the average daily choline intake for children and teens 2 to 19 is actually sufficient. They get about 256 milligrams. So it's almost like once they get over that hump of 1 or 2 plus past the first 1,000 days, their dietary intake of choline is pretty solid,
pretty adequate
by and large.
Yeah.
All right, so we talked about egg yolks, right?
Yes.
For food sources. Where else do we get choline?
Beef and chicken are really key sources.
Yeah.
So again, and we're going to come back to this, how do you incorporate something like beef into an infant
into
and
a
toddler's
7-month-old?
Yeah. But again, really a key source. Mushrooms can be a good source. Salmon, wheat germ.
I thought mushrooms was fascinating. I mean, really.
Yeah. Sometimes mushrooms will really surprise you.
They will,
Like,
but they will. But I'm also trying to imagine, like, I dare someone to put a mushroom in front of a 7-month-old.
True. But I'm okay. Well, let me challenge you back. Does that white button mushroom that I'm buying at the grocery store, does it really have choline in it?
Yeah, no, that's a good point,
Does it
too.
really have, like,
Yeah.
some mushrooms have vitamin D if they're grown under certain lights.
Yeah.
I don't know that white button mushroom that I'm adding to some recipes really is
and how many mushrooms do we need to eat to really get
good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
So,
so I'm sitting here, it's really your heavy hitter sources, your beef, your chicken, your eggs with the yolks and then salmon are again animal proteins.
Exactly.
So, we didn't look into this, but I'm assuming it's going to be even more challenging to get adequate choline, particularly if the mother's vegetarian or vegan during pregnancy.
Yeah, absolutely. Back to supplements.
Yeah. You know what I would love to know is what kind of supplements are they recommending these days? Other than like your generic prenatal, which I'm assuming they're still doing,
Yeah.
But I wonder, like, if there's a whole, like, choline, DHA, EPA, are they supplementing vitamin D?
Well, I mean, everybody should be taking vitamin D, pregnant or not pregnant.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
We'll have to find out.
You know what? I've been going to a doctor recently, and so after I had babies, I stopped going to my OBGYN just because I kind of felt like I love her, but those practices really, I felt like they just cared about the pregnant women.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I just started seeing my internist for anything related down there.
Yeah, I mean, usually, like, you don't have...
Yeah.
If you don't have any issues, it's not like they're going to sit there and spend a bunch of time with you.
Right.
And I'll blame them.
But I had some questionable test results, and my internist was like, why don't you go see this OBGYN specialist? So I did, and it took me back because it's mainly pregnant women in the waiting room.
Right. I know.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh.
I forgot about this stage of life.
I'm too old to be here. Yeah. But I say all that because I'm going to ask her about what she's recommending when she sees a new pregnant patient.
Yeah.
What she recommends they supplement, just to know.
Yeah. I would love that. I would love to know.
And to figure out how deficient I was.
Exactly. So that we can go, oh man, we really screwed up.
Yeah. So,
all right. So listeners are going to laugh, but I'm pretty excited about this next one.
I know.
I'm excited about it because the value of focusing on this is like, it's just cool.
Yeah.
It's cool, and I wasn't expecting it for this age and stage of life.
I wasn't expecting it to be so critical. The other thing I love is I may have done really well here.
Same. I didn't even think about that. We probably knocked it out of the park in this department.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to talk about carotenoids and vitamin A.
Yeah. So vitamin A has two forms. It has one form that is found in animal-based products. So like your butter, your fortified milk, and dairy, those kind of sources. Vitamin A is also found in plant foods, but it's not found as vitamin A. It's found as, y'all are getting the new 101 nutrition lecture here. Yeah. It's found as the precursor to vitamin A in the form known as beta carotene.
Yep.
And in other carotene forms. And they contain phytochemicals, or the beta carotene is a phytochemical, and other carotenoids are, which is not necessarily a nutrient, but is a compound that we have found that is needed for growth and development and possibly prevent disease. And beta carotene and the other carotenoids, specifically lutein and zeaxanthin.
Zeaxanthin.
How do you say it?
Zeaxanthin.
Go, girl.
I have a backstory on lutein and zeaxanthin that I can get into in a minute.
But they are found in like your deep, rich orange and yellow foods, and your dark green vegetables, and Yeah.
So the cool part about carotenoids is that they are a class of nutrient that contributes color to fruits and veggies.
Yes.
So so my lutein and zeaxanthin story. So one of the reasons why I love carotenoids is because early in my magazine days, we decided that we wanted to look at we wanted to keep touching on more like lifestyle nutrition. So like what's good for your eyes, what's good for your skin. And so one of the early like pieces of content that I worked on, part of it was looking at this newer research on lutein and zeaxanthin and how when you get them from your veggie, they're in veggies a lot, lutein and zeaxanthin specifically, that they for lack of a better word, they like migrate to your eyes and they serve as like these like natural sunglasses, like the filters, right? Yeah. Really good for like preventing age-related macular degeneration. And so I found it really fun to write about it. Anyway, fast forward 20 years, and we are now talking about how there's this class of nutrient is really, really important for this age group for a similar reason, which I did not know, is that the retinal area in your eye doesn't fully mature until 4 to 7 years of age. So that's why these carotenoids are important, because it's like, I mean, we know that the brain continues to develop, right? Well, okay, so do parts of the eyes.
Yeah. They play roles as antioxidants and visual filters, and their presence in the eye during pregnancy in the fetus's what's going to be the eye, they believe serves as actually a protective factor against oxidative damage from free radicals, and helps build the blood vessels of the eye and supports just all the neural communication, all that that's got to develop so that the eye works properly.
Correct. I mean, think about if you go to the eye doctor, right? And they show you like pictures of your eyes. I mean, there are a ton of blood vessels and neurons and everything, let's tied up to your eye.
That's in there?
I know, right?
Yeah.
And so then to think about like, wow, like our children, when they're little, are still actively developing that.
Yeah.
Like I thought that they were just born with that stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when they were born.
Yeah, when they came out. Yeah. It was there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, but here's the other thing. I tend to think of carotenoids and other phytochemicals as more for adults.
Right.
Not that kids... they're so associated with a lot of disease prevention.
Yes.
And maintenance of health.
Inflammation,
Inflammation.
They have lovely anti-inflammatory properties.
And so I don't think I ever really stopped to think that they could be critical to get into my infant's diet or my toddler's diet.
Agree.
All. Thank goodness my kids can see. But I tend to think of them as like, oh, I'm 49. I need to be getting plenty of carotenoids.
Yes.
My parents need to be getting plenty of carotenoids,
Yes.
So this was kind of eye-opening to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So lutein and zeaxanthin, I was saying that they're predominantly in veggies, and they are. So like they're in your cooked leafy greens like spinach and kale. I mean, they're in there raw too, but they're more accessible when you cook them, the lutein and zeaxanthin. They're in your corn,
but really
like your yellow veggies, like your corn and your
orange, your sweet potatoes, and your butternut squash. And
yes,
I excelled because my kids loved those.
And that's what I was gonna say. I was like, so I'm like, all right, your kids might not like those cooked leafy greens. They might not really care for corn, depending on their age. Like giving them like a bell pepper, yellow or orange bell pepper to eat might not fly either. But here's where parents, I think, really need to feel good about themselves. Like apricots, sweet potatoes, carrots, mangoes. Like these are all the things that
they're usually foods babies love, and I think part of it has to do with the texture of a lot of these foods is they puree really well and smooth. And so not only does it have a slightly sweet taste, which the baby really hadn't tasted much of anything sweet. I mean, we probably wouldn't think of plain sweet potatoes that sweet, but a baby does.
Yep.
So, but they has this super smooth texture and the sweet taste, and so a lot of times they usually love it. And it'll get where you feed it to them frequently just because they love it, and you're pairing it with other things, and it helps them eat the other things too. But I don't know if this ever happened to yours, but if they eat it so frequently, they can start to get a little orange tinge to their skin.
It did not happen to my children.
It didn't happen to mine, but I was monitoring for it.
I was too, because we went through a heavy sweet potato and carrot phases in our house, and then we went through a big mango phase too. I had a coworker once whose hands turned slightly, her palms turned slightly orange.
Yeah.
Yes, from a crazy carrot habit, and who knows what else. Yeah.
Wow.
So I was watching for it too, because that's like, and it's not dangerous.
No, it's harmless.
But it is a thing.
It can occur.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
So there's one other item that's worth mentioning where you can get vitamin A and your carotenoids, and that's egg yolks, which we've talked about it before. So now we have talked about
egg yolks is one of the few animal foods where you get a carotenoid, specifically lutein.
Yes.
Yeah, they're kind of an outlier, because most of these carotenoids are in your
plants.
Yellow, orange, and dark green plants.
Yep,
Veggies
exactly.
and fruits. Yeah.
Yep. Those like vibrant fruits.
Well, at least we got one in, Brierly.
I know. And I hope that for our listeners who are parents of small children are feeling like, okay, all right, you just kind of scared me with some of these others, but like I know that I'm doing okay in this department.
Yeah. Well, and so let's talk about how we'd recommend like filling in some of these nutrient gaps with foods, and kind of what we do different to get these key nutrients in. We can start with the carotenoid rich ones. Again, those are generally pretty easy, because kids naturally like them.
They do, especially when they're pureed. They're also fairly easy to access, even if you're not if you're not making your own food, they're fairly easy to access in terms of like pre-pureed in a pouch, in a jar, whatever. It's not hard to find carrots and sweet potatoes and butternut squash and apricots even. I mean, so that that one is, I feel like is nice. And then the other thing that we should remind listeners is that with those particular foods, they're also getting vitamin C and they're getting fiber, which are, I mean, vitamin C is very important. Fiber obviously helps with, regularity, among other things, which is something I feel like all parents always worry about.
Yeah.
So there's that.
And can kind of be an issue if the infants own some iron fortified formula.
Yes.
As well.
Yes.
So that's good. So, but yeah, and don't forget about like your orange and yellow fruits.
Exactly.
Those are a good source too.
Yeah. Now, where I feel like it gets a little dicey for parents is to think about some
high quality proteins.
High quality proteins. I was going to say the other nutrients and the main sources that we've talked about, like those high quality proteins. I mean, I feel like saying, eating fish is fairly easy because the texture,
tender.
It's so tender. You can break it up into small pieces. I'm not saying it's going to be an easy one to pass over on a kid. I'm not saying that. But when you say something like beef or chicken, and even eggs, there's some elements of eggs that is a little overwhelming to think about how to serve it.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. When I first thought about it for my kids, I was like, how do I do this?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it really is, once you start thinking through it, it really became nice because I could take elements of what the adults were eating, components of that.
Yes.
Like something I'm preparing a dish with like lean ground beef.
Mm-hmm.
And I could saute the ground beef, pull out a little for Madeline or Griffin or whoever I'm cooking for. Depending on the stage, like if they're just getting introduced, puree it
Mm-hmm.
with a little water,
Mm-hmm.
and you can get it pretty smooth.
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they've progressed a little, you can actually give them the ground beef crumbles.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, as they get older and they can manipulate, they have some teeth and can manipulate stuff better. You can do small, like very lean pieces
Mm-hmm.
that they can incorporate. So to me, it was when I started thinking about incorporating some high quality proteins, because here's the thing, the jarred baby food meats gross me out.
You know, I never had any luck with them. My kids just did not like them. Even if it was mixed. The only way that I was able to get animal protein into them was if I did like what you were talking about.
Mixed it with some sweet potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But doing it at home, there was just something about the smell
Yeah.
that I couldn't get them to eat
Yeah.
it. And frankly, I don't blame them.
Yeah. But I think when I realized, okay, I need to get some high quality protein, that was the first time I kind of thought out of the box and thought, oh, let me look at what I'm cooking at night for dinner, and how can I pull like some small components? Okay, I'm roasting sweet potatoes. Well, let me, cook a sweet potato and mash it and that kind of thing. Or I'm making a spaghetti sauce that has ground beef in it.
Right.
Let me brown the ground beef, pull a little out, and then I'll
finish it.
Finish
Yeah.
it.
Now, I will say I don't want to throw any shade on poultry, but I found that beef, likely because of the fat content, was just easier for me to blend and incorporate into.
Well, I feel like it naturally, and maybe it is like some of the fat, but I feel like it naturally has, like beef has a flavor even without seasoning.
Yeah.
Compared to like a chicken breast, it really doesn't have much flavor on its own. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Good point.
I mean, you probably want to season ground beef, whatever you're using to make, but a ground beef in the skillet, and it's going to have some flavor already to it.
Right. Yes,
You know?
for sure.
So, but also one of the reasons we're talking about beef is because it is a really good source of a lot of those key nutrients. Iron, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But B vitamins.
B vitamins. Yeah. Choline.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really heavy hitter with choline.
Mm-hmm.
Zinc. Then you're getting that high quality protein. And it's a lot of those, key nutrients like that you don't necessarily find in a lot of your standard baby foods or a lot of the pureed vegetables or fruits.
Right. Exactly.
Or finger foods,
Yes. Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about some of the finger foods. I mean, there's nothing in those puffs, but boy, did we go through a lot of those. Holy cow. I mean, I think maybe even just a couple years ago, I was still cleaning them out of the back of my car.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes. So again, and I would say too, like even once my kids had some teeth, like some real teeth, I mean, we would make like a steak and cut it up like thin and
Very
tiny
thin,
little
yeah.
pieces, and here we go. Try it out. And like the natural flavor of it was very popular. We also had some luck with other animal proteins like pork. But again, not trying to throw shade on chicken, but it was not easy for me. It was harder. It was definitely harder.
I didn't try chicken thighs.
Oh, yeah.
That probably would work better than chicken, or might be a little more appealing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still, you've got to keep it very tender when you're cooking it.
Exactly.
So and
that's not necessarily how, as adults, we cook our chicken.
Yeah, chicken can go wrong on you really fast.
It can.
Like tough.
Yes. Yeah.
So, okay. So carotenoid-rich foods, a high-quality protein like lean, fresh beef.
Mm-hmm.
Dairy. We really hadn't, but dairy is a heavy hitter. Now, with some key nutrients, iodine, which I never knew.
Yeah.
And iodine probably is key because you really shouldn't give kids. You don't want to put salt.
Right.
You can put herbs, spices, that kind of thing in food, but you really don't want to put salt or anything with like added sugars.
Right.
In the food. So, and most of our iodine comes from iodized salt or seafood.
Yep.
And like you mentioned, it can be
Little
challenging to get a little fish into them. But dairy is also typically going to have your vitamin D because it's going to be fortified. It's going to have some protein in there, good quality protein. Now, one thing I do want to say is we need to point out, I believe it's, 2 to 3 cups a day after the first birthday. You don't want to do, you can do like yogurt before the first birthday, but
not milk.
But not milk.
Not cow's milk.
So, after the first birthday, you can do cow's milk. But you really, I believe it's 2 to 3 cups a day that you want to give them. And you really don't want to go past that. Because if you go past that, that can cause them to eat less of their foods and contribute to an iron deficiency.
Interesting.
Yeah. In fact, when I was looking at the info on iron for this, if kids that are at risk or like low income and don't get adequate nutrients overall, maybe not adequate energy, but also kids that have a high milk intake.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Which, makes sense because the calcium binds it.
Yeah, but I do remember my kids going at times, being like they just wanted to have milk and they didn't really want the food I was offering. And, I was just like, well, what does it hurt? It's milk,
Yeah.
But, you don't want to do that for too long.
Yeah, good point.
So,
we went through a lot of yogurt in our house.
Yes.
We still go through a lot of yogurt, but we went through a lot of yogurt. And it's great because as a parent, like if they're little, if they're in that 7 to 12 month range, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
You don't have to like puree it. The texture is great. It's
just right there.
It's right there.
Yeah. Exactly. So, okay. What would we have done
differently? We kind of already spoiled it a little bit because we said you and I both focused on variety of texture, variety of flavor, variety of foods.
I really didn't even think about nutrients. I think the one I thought maybe a little about was, they tell you to fortify with or supplement with usually a vitamin D fluoride.
D. Yep.
But the only one I thought about in terms of introducing foods to my child but for key nutrients was, I was like, I've got to get the rice cereal because it's iron fortified.
Yeah. Yep.
But I didn't really think much past that. Wasn't thinking about carotenoids.
No. I was not nearly as nutrient focused.
Knew nothing about choline.
Correct.
Not many people were talking about it. Yeah. So we both focused on variety.
Yeah. And so if we were both, I'll speak for both of us, to do it differently, we would have focused on nutrients a little bit more, even if it meant, at least for me, even if it meant dialing back on the variety.
Same.
And truthfully, there are foods that my kids ate when they were between 7 months and 2 years old that they didn't touch again until like 2 years ago.
Oh, shoot. There's some that mine still won't eat. I'm just banking on the exposure.
Yeah.
And that the exposure when they were an infant and then the exposure of seeing me eat it regularly.
Right.
That's what the research says to do. I'm banking on that to come on through.
Yeah.
In the next few years.
Yeah. But I think every parent knows the experience of, I just saw someone post about this on Instagram the other day. Lisa, gosh, I love her, about how your child likes something. And so you go out to Costco and you stock up on it and then you come home and they're like, nope, we don't like it anymore.
It's like automatic if you stock up.
I know.
Every time I do that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I'm over this.
Yeah, exactly.
As an infant, but also as 15 and 18.
Oh, no. Now, actually, that has happened to me recently. I was like putting something in one of their lunches and they were like, oh, I don't like that anymore. I was like, what? We're 10 and 13. What do you mean you don't like that anymore?
Yeah.
Eat it.
It's like, I told them the other day, they were like, I really don't want that for dinner. I was like, you know what? You don't get what you're dreaming of every night for dinner. You just, I was like, you think I eat what I really want for lunch every day? No.
No. Do you think that I eat what I want for dinner every night? No, because sometimes I'm cooking you something I know you'll eat and I really don't want to eat it.
Thank you. Okay. So,
What
Not
else?
that less on variety, but we would have taken a nutrient-based focus more than a variety-based focus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anything else you would have done differently?
I would have paid, and this is kind of similar to the nutrient-based focus, I would have paid, we both now are very intrigued by the connection between nutrition and brain development and mental health. And so I, in particular, because both my kids have ADHD and Griffin has some auditory processing, I would have been much more in tune with the EPA, the DHA, the vitamin D, the choline, the a lot of those key nutrients that brain health wasn't even really being talked about back then.
No, I feel like it was mostly like, oh, you want to get that from seafood, but don't eat too much tuna.
Yeah, yeah. I wish I'd known that the role that it appears certain nutrients may have a positive impact on their mental health down the road.
Yeah.
Or mental wellness.
Yes.
Not that I'm saying I could have prevented ADHD.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Or anything like that.
But at least try and because there is a component of setting them up for success from a nutrition standpoint to minimize some of the symptoms potentially. Now we know that there's a little bit of research there. So yeah, not prevent it, but I'm with you absolutely. Like I think especially when you look at high quality proteins and the importance of high quality proteins with just like we're talking about like everyday brain function and that kind of development. Like that's a great one.
Yeah. What's something you would have done different?
I do. I would have worked harder to incorporate them into our family meals more. And it's not because they ate something different. It was just that they always ate early. Like they ate at like 5:30, 5 o'clock. And then we would eat after they went to bed. Well, now fast forward to their 10 and 13, and they literally every night ask me, like, are we having family dinner? Like, they enjoy it. They want to sit down. Now, sometimes it's only 5 minutes long, which is awesome feeling after you've spent 45 minutes making dinner. But nevertheless, but they really value it.
Yeah. That's amazing. So more like the social, the psychological. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, from a similar standpoint, incorporating them into the dinner earlier, once they got to a certain age, like, 4 or 5, that kind of thing, I was very adamant. I'm not cooking 2 meals. You're having what everyone else is having. I don't go and cook chicken tenders and French fry. I don't do that. You like the foods that I'm cooking, you can eat them. Yeah. But I would have done that much earlier. And I did some with Griffin, but like I was saying, if I'm making something with like ground beef, I wish I'd done more of, and it would have made it easier on me in like pulling some of that out and pureeing it or whatever stage they're at. Or I'm, steaming green beans or,
Could you overcook them a little bit more so that they're like, they can be gummed?
Yeah, I tended to get in like the baby food mindset, oh, this is their food. Right? Yeah. And I would have incorporated some of the same foods I was already cooking that night into their diet more. And I think it would have made it a lot easier. I just didn't really think about it.
Well, I also think we need to give listeners a little bit of context. So your kids, baby-led weaning was really not a thing at all. Mm-hmm. Baby-led weaning was very fringe when Etta was like coming up.
And do you want to tell people what, because people may not know what that
about
is.
Like what baby-led weaning is. So I'm not an expert. And I did not do it with my children. My children's father is very fearful of choking. So there was no way we were ever going to do baby-led weaning, even if it was like the most recommended thing at the time. But it's this idea that you give them foods that they can choose to eat. So you put them in front of them, right? And that they do it themselves. And sometimes that might mean gnawing on something that is a food item that is a little larger and more cumbersome than what their tiny teeth and gums can handle.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily, you're not pureeing all the things.
Basically, you just have to be like, okay, they're going to make a mess, but I'm going to let them.
Yes.
And I did, because I knew that part of their brain development cognitively and with food in general was they needed to like touch it and feel it, and
that sensory experience.
They needed that sensory. That was part of it. So I tried to do that. But this is more, you put it out in front of them, you let them eat whatever they want and how they want.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of patience.
It does. It does. And that was not exactly a strength of mine in the early years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nope.
I think if you did that today, I don't know if you'd be excelling at that either. But
no.
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Not calling you out or
no,
anything.
No, it's just not, it doesn't fit my personality quite right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Okay. Anything else that we would have done differently? Not that if you have a toddler or young kid, like, not that if you're not doing these things, we're suggesting you're not doing things right.
Correct.
But it's,
No, I can't. The only other thing that I would be curious, that I would probably have stressed about less, and I'm sure I'll get a lot of blowback on this one, is I would have stressed less about my older daughter's added sugar intake. I mean, I was like militant.
Really?
Militant. Well, then baby number 2 comes around. Anybody who's had more than one knows. Number 2 comes around, and it's like, oh yeah, that kid has definitely had ice cream like early on in life, like before 12 months old, like because someone wasn't watching and they grabbed it, or older sister's having it and wants to share it with the baby, because the way that they are now is not that. It's not like Holland is like adverse to sweets and sugar and Etta is obsessed.
Yeah.
It's like they both
They're
ebb
the same,
and flow.
and you took different approaches with both.
So, but that's why I said I'll probably get a lot of blowback. I'm not saying go wild on the added sugars. I'm just saying that I was militant with one and I was much more lax with the other. And they have, by and large, come up into the same.
Well, you want to talk about some blowback that I might get is I might have incorporated a little bit of added sugar earlier with Madeline.
Interesting.
She just wasn't around. There was no reason to give it to her. And then I may have told you this story. She was like 3 or 3.5. I mean, I guess on her birthday she had cake, but other than that, it was not. Somebody gave her like a lollipop.
Oh.
And she looked at it and she had no clue what to do with it.
Oh.
And it was not that she needs the added sugar by any means or needed that lollipop, because I think it can be a choking hazard at that age, but I was around. But it was kind of an eye-opening moment for me. I realized, okay, just like we have to teach them how to like compose their diet of mostly healthy foods, we have to also teach them how to eat unhealthy things. Yes. The proper way.
Yes.
Yes. So not that she
point.
needed it more added sugar earlier on, but she never had it, and we didn't include it in her diet.
Right.
And then I was a little embarrassed because I was somewhere where it was like not dietitian people, and they were like,
I can see that. They were like, what is this mama doing?
Yeah, like
she doesn't know what a lollipop is?
She just kind of held it and stared at it. Yeah. With the wrapper on it. Yeah.
I can totally see this. I can totally see it.
Well, this was, to be people who don't have little kids, this was really fun.
It was fun. It was very fun. And I hope that it was helpful. I hope that nobody feels overly overwhelmed by some of the suggestions that we've made. And maybe some people got some chuckles at what we did and didn't do.
Yeah. Hopefully.
They
can learn from us.
Exactly.
Yeah. And hopefully they get some comfort by knowing we were dietitians. Mm-hmm. And we didn't even really know fully what we were doing.
Exactly. Yeah. We should,
We should
and
have.
we did not. But I would say, I bet you if we polled all of our dietitian friends, there would be a very small number who would say that they felt like they were really on top of child nutrition guidelines.
Probably so.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Until next week.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us for the Happy Eating Podcast. I'm Brierly Horton.
And I'm Carolyn Williams. If you liked this week's episode, then don't forget to rate and leave us a review on iTunes. And be sure to hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss a new episode.
We can't wait to have you back at our table next week for a brand new episode. Bye.
The contents discussed in the Happy Eating Podcast, such as advice, studies, text, graphics, images, and other material discussed or presented on the site or podcast, are for informational purposes only. Content is not intended to be a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your mental health professional or other qualified health providers with any questions you may have regarding your condition. Never disregard professional advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on the Happy Eating Podcast.
If you are in crisis or think you may have an emergency, call your doctor or 911 immediately. If you're having suicidal thoughts, call 1-800-273-TALK, that's 8255, to talk to a skilled trained counselor at the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. If you are located outside the United States, call your local emergency line immediately.